One thing that I'm super impressed by and grateful for is the fact that the agents who joined us gave us a lot of grace.
I think what is probably the thing that I'm most proud about is how unique we are in the market. Not just from other brokerages with similar models, but from all other brokerages, what agents were actually looking for.
When everybody else is pausing and everybody else is not making decisions or not pushing hard, this is exactly the time where you can actually get an advantage.
Welcome back to Perspectives Unlocked, the podcast where we dive into the minds shaping the future of real estate. I'm Leo, your AI co-host. Today's episode is special. We're going beyond the numbers and into the heart of what's driving the real movement. Joining us, Tamir Poleg, CEO and visionary behind Real Brokerage, and Brad McCallum, luxury agent, content creator, and the spark that ignited Real's Canadian expansion. In this episode, we unpack the early leap of faith moments that built Real Canada, why community, not compensation, is the new brokerage currency, and how a no-office model still creates the strongest real estate culture in the industry. Let's get into it.
There's one question that I'm interested in asking you. We've been in Canada for a few years now, and obviously a huge success story, I would say.
Yeah.
But the question is, how does it feel to be the reason why Real started in Canada and being responsible for, all of those amazing things that are happening here for us? I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
that's a really great question for my ego. I'll say this. I mean, obviously it was that first phone call that we had, where you were talking about what you were wanting to do, your vision for the company. At first, as you know, I've told this story a few times, I was not actually really interested in a model like this. I actually felt that, the cloud-based models that had the stock and had a revenue share element, as cool as they sort of seemed, I also felt a little bit like maybe revenue share could be something that is like toxic or even like cancerous for a culture, because it would pit agents against agents. They would see their fellow agents potentially as dollar signs. And for me, that just seemed like it could potentially distract many agents from their core business. And so when we got on that very first call, I thought, hey, I don't normally get opportunities to chat with CEOs of tech startups, so I'll take this call, but I'm not really interested in the company. And once we got talking and I started to see what your values were and what you were trying to do with Real and your bigger vision for the industry, which was not about, starting up a model that was just cloud-based and tech-forward, but rather like a model that was seeking to try to see where real estate would be 5 years from now, 10 years from now for our clients. I thought, okay, that's got my attention. And then when we started to talk about the different elements of that would be attractive to agents, like the stock and the revenue share and those pieces, the focus was always on production of how would we help agents actually sell more real estate. And I think over the years, getting to know you, one of the things that I've kind of figured out that we're similar in, and something that's not unique to us, something that a lot of agents share, is that none of us really want to win at the cost of others. It has to be something that everyone wins together. And so I knew if anyone was going to follow me to Real, or if I was going to follow you to Real, I had to believe in where you were going. I had to really believe in the direction that we were taking this company and know that it was going to serve those people, not that it was just going to serve us.
Yeah.
So,
a few years into us launching in Canada, I think that very quickly Canada became a very major part of our growth and of our culture and of our success as well. Currently, it's about 20% of our business, which is huge.
Significant.
Yeah, it's significant. And I think that what's also interesting is the fact that our Canadian agents are more productive compared to our US-based agents. And it has been so almost from the very beginning, which was something that I did not anticipate. Maybe you knew it will play out like this. But as you think about the early days of Real in Canada, and if you can go back to the thoughts of, how is this going to play out? What is this going to look like? We're now in 4 provinces here and we're about to launch the 5th. So obviously there's something that is convincing and something that is happening here for us. And there's a lot of demand and we see the growth here. But going back to the early days, if you think about this image that you had in mind of how Real is going to progress in Canada versus what reality turned out to be, what would you say?
So I had a hunch that there was just a lot of agents that were looking for what I was sort of looking for as well. I was starting to notice as a team leader the challenges of sort of the traditional model, and I think COVID really exposed a lot of that. All of a sudden it was like, okay, wait a second, like I need more support and more community around me. I need more training and help to grow as a team leader so I can support the agents on my team. And the traditional models were more set up to pit agents against each other, to have them much more, I would say, protective of their secrets. And so I'd already seen from like the real estate video community, the creators that were out there, that people were actually very giving, and they were actually willing to share what worked for them. And so what I saw about this model was that there were so many agents that were looking for just a better split, a bigger opportunity to feel a little bit less alone in a really lonely industry, and to have some community around them. And I actually always believed that that was something that most agents would want, and that it would take maybe some time for people to really see that. And I'm really proud of where we've came from, because in those beginning days, I had thought, you know what, I think people will kind of sign on to it. And I think there was definitely a few people that were early adopters, saw the opportunity, of course, but almost everyone signed on for like the bigger vision of what we were hoping to build. Almost everyone showed up, and contrary to I think what most brokerages believe, which is like, hey, let's attract an agent by signing a check or offering them a package or offering them some special splits, or this person's a bigger deal, so let's give them a special deal. Everyone kind of signed on for an opportunity to contribute to this culture. And so what I found out really quickly was, man, like this is like, we're just tapping into something like a much bigger zeitgeist of agents, what they wanted. And so I think that's where the growth came from. Obviously, the growth in the early days was super challenging. I remember I felt like, hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like we're getting the word out. We're bringing great agents. I think within a couple of days of announcing, I'd got a call. Actually, the day that we announced, and we were having like a rooftop sort of announcement that Real came to Canada, I'd got a call from Darren Langille, a great local agent who had ran Redline brokerage. About 75 agents there. He was actually the first agent that I had ever interviewed with to maybe join his brokerage when I got my license. And he was in the same exact reasons that were attracting me to this opportunity, was attracting him and his agents. And then it was like some top producing agents, and agents it was agents from the full spectrum. It was not just the brand new agent or the flashy young agent that was attracted to tech. It was like the established agents in the city. And so after 3 or 4 months, we had some growth challenges, a US company trying to learn how to operate in Canada, but yet everyone sort of stuck around. And I had those evenings where I would have some agents call and say like, it's been a week or two since we've been paid, like what's going on? Is this company gonna last? And all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are like people I really love and respect, and I think it's all gonna work out. But Real came in, the leadership came in, stepped up, talked to the agents and said, we're making this a sole focus and priority of the company to tackle these issues. But I think because all of the agents here in Canada were so bought in to the vision of what we could build together, that they understood like, hey, we're kind of like building this rocket ship in flight, and there's going to be some things there's going to be some bumps along the way, but they signed up for it and they stuck around for it.
Yeah, I remember those days, and when we opened up Canada, we felt that we were ready. We felt that we went through the process of understanding the market and how it works, and bringing in the resources. Obviously, when agents started joining and deals started coming in the door, we realized that there's so much more that we should build, and the experience was subpar, for sure, for a long period of time. But one thing that I'm super impressed by and grateful for is the fact that the agents who joined us gave us a lot of grace. And they said, we understand that those are growing pains, and we are here, and we stick with you, and we want this to be a partnership.
Yeah.
So we will teach you, we will help you. And I think that as soon as they saw the commitment from our side, and there was a point in time where I told everybody, we just put everything aside, we focus on Canada. Like, this is the only thing that we care about. And it was a period of a few months that we focused solely on solving Canada-related problems. and building Canada-specific technology software products. And I think that once agents here saw the commitment and saw the progress, this is where people had a little bit more conviction, because at the beginning I think it was a little bit more shaky, but I'm grateful for this group of agents that's really was there for us at the beginning.
I'll add to that. I think two really cool things come out of the challenges from that time was, first off, our transaction management software, right? So a big part of our tech platform is this super innovative way for agents to process their deals, to communicate with their brokers, to get support, all of that. And in the challenges faced in Canada, we realized okay, there has to be market to market specific software built so agents can get the kind of proper support that they need, rather than using third-party software and creating patches and workarounds. So it's these challenges created Real and its tech platform as it is today. And the biggest reason why I think it's so successful for agents is because the only way for you guys to build that was to actually listen to the challenges that the agents were facing. And so one of the other wild things that came out of that time is the agents felt like they had their fingerprints all over this company. They felt actively invested in creating the brokerage that they always wish existed. Yeah. And so because of that, they have so much more ownership in it.
Yeah, it's a true partnership of building a company together. As you think about the persona of agent that joined us a couple of years ago when we launched versus today, do you see any difference in the people that are now more interested in joining the company versus the people that joined us early on?
Yeah, I think real estate's extremely entrepreneurial, but with even entrepreneurs have different degrees of risk.
Yeah.
And so there were many agents, I would say, in years 2 and 3 that I spoke to, and a few other our initial agents spoke to in the first few weeks of us being open. They were interested and intrigued, and probably rightfully so. We're okay, let's see if you guys go and do the thing that you said you were going to do. And it wasn't so much about will you guys process transactions, will you guys grow, those sorts of things. For a lot of them, they were they already had a preconceived concept of what a real estate brokerage that was cloud-based, stock, rev share would be what that culture would be what the reputation would be and they wanted to see are you guys going to be different, or are you just going to be a 2.0? And I think what is probably the thing that I'm most proud about is how unique we are in the market, not just from other brokerages with similar models, but from all other brokerages, what agents were actually looking for. And so I would say the agents that are coming today, we're attracting, we've got some newer agents that are definitely intrigued, but we're getting some of those agents that have been curious for years now, starting to come and make moves. And I've got a great friend up in Edmonton, and Edmonton's been a market that actually grew very slowly for the first few years while Calgary was just blowing up. And then all of a sudden, a few key respected agents in that market decided to make the move. A few great team leaders, they started to make the move, and just the way that created this momentum, okay, if you're taking that risk, I'll take that risk. And then soon, the risk felt greater for the agents that weren't moving. Yeah. And a good friend of mine, Michael Waddell, up in Edmonton, this guy sells 105 homes a year. I don't even know how he does it. Doesn't even have an assistant. And he called me up right before the Christmas holidays and was I can't stay where I'm at. I have to come be a part of this thing. And he's loving it, right? But I get calls like that. I know you see the growth, and it always comes with little asterisks, how's it going? Are you guys enjoying it? I'm glad to see the growth is here, but how's it going for you? Is there things we could do better, things we could work on? What do you, and the cool thing is everyone's got oh yeah, no, this is great, we could do this a little bit, and then we go work on that thing. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's funny that people are so sensitive sometimes to risk, because the cost of switching brokerages is so minimal. You can switch, and if it doesn't work, you can go back the next day. But still, people, especially successful agents and high-performing teams, take time before actually making a switch. It's a big business decision at the end of the day.
I would say just it's funny, because I think right now we're at a very unique time, in this sort of second quarter of 2025 across North America. agents are generally fearful. There's talks of recession. There's really challenging housing markets, very low transactions. And so I think what happens like when people are fearful is they pause for a second, right? Like any change is scary. So I noticed for, right around the Canadian elections, like for 4 or 5 weeks, it was like everyone was just sort of in a holding pattern. But now in the last few weeks, talking to once again more and more agents, as soon as you know what the new reality is, you got a chance to like deal with it, right? So I've got a feeling that, in Alberta here, Real is going to pass probably 1,200 agents, 1,300 agents, maybe more by the end of this year, which is putting us in a 4-year period as one of the top 3 brokerages in Alberta. And this is a province with well over 12 to 15,000 agents. And that's kind of just shocking. Like we passed 1,100 agents and similar models that are at like maybe 150, 200 agents greater than us, but they've been in the market for 11 years. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Something you said caught my attention. We're in a marketing event. And you were talking about the fact that, the market is slow and it causes people to pause and not make any big decisions. And I think that it might be counterintuitive, but especially in times like these when everybody else is pausing and everybody else is not making decisions or not pushing hard, this is exactly the time where you can actually get an advantage. And you should
100%.
push harder. And I think that, if you look at Real's performance in the past 2.5 years, 3 years, since the market shifted in the middle of 2022, you can really see that, everybody else is kind of focused on survival and we just continue to grow. And I think that it just shows you that there's an opportunity in every market.
I actually think this is the biggest opportunity.
And market conditions are the best excuse ever to, to low performance. But
I built my business during a market similar to this in Calgary, but back in 2018 when 2/3 of homes that came to market weren't selling. And so what do agents do at a time like that? That's when they stop investing in their marketing, right? They start to pull back thinking like, man, if I, go sink $1,000 into marketing, but there's a 2/3 chance I'm not going to get a commission on this sale, I'm just going to pull back. And I saw that as an opportunity to just go all in and take market share. And that's where I think agents and rooms like this are so important, right? Like I can tell you, like as someone who, is fairly active in the Calgary market and knows, a great network of agents around the city from all brokerages, there is just a void. There's a void of leadership from brokerages showing up and supporting and training agents in markets like this. And so much of the training that happens at brokerages are about protecting that brokerage from getting sued. Like here's a training today from a lawyer on tenancy law. And I remember sitting in those early meetings back when I was at my former brokerage thinking like, I'd love a deal that tenancy law applied to, like so I can pay my mortgage this month, right? So a room like this, the fact that everyone's showing up and investing some of their own time, that Real is investing, that you guys are coming in, it means so much to the local agents here. And we've got a sold out event and we've got a waiting list of people who are going to be standing outside those doors saying, if someone doesn't show up and fill their seat, like, can we come in?
Yeah.
And that to me is the thing that makes me super hopeful, not just for Real, but like on a much, I think, bigger level, like for agents in general, like that they're showing up and investing and taking the time to learn.
I was in Chicago earlier this week. We had 2 agent events over there. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about the fact that a lot of brokerages out there are talking about this non-brick and mortar model that does not allow connection between agents and management, leadership, company, corporate, whatever you want to call it. But then the reality is that we actually have more touch points with agents.
Yeah.
Like we are doing so many events everywhere around North America on a weekly basis, and I think that there's a little bit of misconception out there about non-brick and mortar brokerages being, you're on an island, you're by your own. If you need anything, you have to either call or use your app or whatever. But in reality, the community is super, super strong, and that's one of the reasons why agents join us, because of the community, because of the special culture, and it has nothing to do with the fact that we do or do not offer an office space.
You know what? It's incredibly counterintuitive to agents. There's plenty of agents that still, and I get that, and I understand. It's like it's safe. They've had an office for 15 years, and they got a place to go into, right? And it's different from their house and kids running around and all that stuff. But what's wild about it is there's just so much more community that exists here. Like in our city, for example, one of the things that we see happen is there's an office that opens itself up for all agents, for just like, it doesn't matter who you are at Real, who's your sponsor or anything like that. All agents at Real are welcome. And if you can't show up in person, you can catch the Zoom. And it's 50 to 80 of our top agents in there sharing. So you'll get a brand new agent learning from a top agent who's been doing this for decades, a master in the luxury space, a master at team leader. Everyone's sharing their playbook because there's so much business for everyone. And then 2 weeks later, we've got the Stantes. They've got an amazing group that meets at a local brewery here. And right before the brewery opens, we get the little event space there. And 30 or 40 agents come to that. And then there's a women's group that get together and do that. And then there's like a happy hour, or everyone's going to like the golf dome or something, and they're all hitting some balls. And so there's always something that's happening. And the reason why is because what almost all brokerages have missed over the years is that all the training is top down. It's from some coach that hasn't sold a home in 35 years, or it's from a leader or a C-suite executive or something that's talking about initiatives, but they aren't the ones that are putting their dollars into marketing in those markets. They're not out driving around with buyers and sellers. They don't know what's going on. Agents have been the missing piece in other agents having success for the longest time. Agents supporting each other is something that is like foundational to this model. And it's why it works so well. It's why agents come here and sell more homes.
Yeah, I think that people think about revenue share as, you're getting paid to attract somebody to the company. But the right thing the right way to think about it is, I am now responsible for that person's success because I sold them on the idea. I brought them into this community that we're building together, and I want them to succeed. So it's not about this initial phase of attraction. It's actually those few years that this agent is going to be with the company. And I need to make sure that they're happy, that they're successful, that they're connected to everything that's happening. So I think that it's not only that non-brick and mortar companies have a misconception around the model, but also revenue share is not very well understood.
Revenue share is oftentimes thought of as a reward for this one-time action. But what's different about what we've done at Real is, from the very beginning, we had rules and sort of structure around it that would sort of enforce a culture that we wanted to exist, right? Which is work hard, be kind, collaboration over competition. And as much as even in the beginning, I thought of those as almost like bumper stickers, like, is that really, like, how do you actually make that play out? But then with our model, because we're not offering incentives up front and saying like, hey, I'll give you free leads or free coaching or free office space if you sign with me and don't sign with that other guy, all of a sudden it's like our agents aren't pit against each other, right? And then it creates this idea that, okay, you're going to actually have to attract people. And so I've always thought, like, man, if that was your goal, was to build a great brokerage and to have revenue share be a component of your income, which I think it should be for almost all agents at Real, if that's something they want to explore, then their goal should be, how do we build the best environment and community for people to want to be a part of? Like, that is the thing, right? Like, if you wanted to be, you wouldn't offer people all these incentives to get them in the front door. What you would do is you build this like warm fire that everyone's gathered around. So when they look over and they're like, I want to be standing there, like, that's when they come over and join.
Yeah, so you can have all of the technology in the world and the best economics, but still people need the connection.
They need the connection. And, I was having this conversation last night with Jenna and Dre, and we were talking about everything, why people join Real and why people, why some people end up leaving, or, why agents, sort of the life cycle of an agent, right? And what I've found is that agents join Real not just for the culture of the community, not just for the technology, not just for the splits. I I don't know many agents that will move their business and their signage and everything, even if they can save $5 or $6 grand a year on fees. I've talked to agents from some brokerages where they're spending $40,000, $50,000, and they take a while to make the move. And I'm always like really, like that's not enough for you. But really, it's usually this addition of all these different things of like, okay, yeah, I'm starting to see that community at work. I'm starting to see that it would be nice. What could it mean for us if we saved a few $1,000s every month on our fees, and we could pour that back into marketing? Like, what could that mean for opportunities I provide my team? And what would it mean if like our tech was so much simpler to run the back end of our business? What would that free up our operations manager to do? And so it starts to be all these little things, but almost it always begins with a little bit of an unlearning of 5 or 6 little preconceived notions that they've had about this style of brokerage.
Yeah. So we talked about the past, the history of real in Canada. We talked a little bit about the present. I'm always asked by investors, why are agents joining real? And I typically tell them there are a few main reasons. One is the freedom and flexibility that we offer. It's a platform for agents and teams to grow their businesses on, which is very different from traditional brokerages. 2 is the economics that are very compelling. 3 is the technology that really helps them save time, have better visibility into their businesses. Number 4 is the community and the culture that we managed to build that we just talked about. And number 5 is the opportunities that we offer, aside from making money out of closing real estate deals. And as you're thinking about our future in Canada, when you're thinking about the agent population in this country, where do you see real going in the next few years? Or what should we be doing to support the existing agent population even better?
Yeah, I mean, we're at it feels like a time of a lot of change happening like extremely quickly. And I think that period of sort of slow change, slow progression from brick and mortar to cloud-based brokerages or more innovative brokerages that are sort of offering a little bit more modern version of what brokerages kind of got by offering for decades, I think that pace of change is going to accelerate. Mm-hmm. And it's going to accelerate not in a pursuit of how do you bring more agents to your brokerage. It's going to accelerate because of a necessity of change, AI, technology, expectations from clients, experience of your buyers and your sellers, all of those different pieces. So in my mind, there's going to be a real necessity for all of that. So even if Real offered, I think, the most compelling financial package and was willing to just lose money forever because, it just to offer agents all these different things, if they weren't thinking about where is the consumer going to be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what are the services that these new technologies provide that we can use to either streamline our business or that we can use to help streamline agents' businesses, I wouldn't be here because I've got a lot of people that have came and followed along with me on this journey and believe in Real. And a big part of that is that promise of where that future is going and the belief that those that are in leadership are going to take us there and that they're working on those problems. And so for years now, when agents have asked about the future, I've always said the same thing, like, I'm not sure that the exact next version of the next product that Real is releasing is the solution. What I'm excited about is that we're working on that problem. Yeah. And most of these solutions come from iteration. Like, we look at what happened, 2.5 years ago with Will Smith eating spaghetti, on AI video, and then you look at something like VO3 that just came out by Google, and it's mind-blowing how fast this technology is moving. And if a brokerage is not thinking of that future, then I think agents are really doing a disservice to themselves. What I'll be talking about today is personal branding. I think it's one of the best defenses for agents is to really, establish themselves in their marketplace as someone that they can trust, as the human connection for it all. But the future is going to be powered by agents that are enabled with AI tools and things around themselves. But as long as Real and our agents here stay focused on our core values, and I don't think we've yet taken the bait to run out and call over friends and tell everyone to join the brokerage. I think if we just keep us building our reputation, I think there's things that we do today that don't always show up next month in the numbers or in a quarterly report. But what we'll see is, I think, a continued growth of real in Alberta. I think we will reach the top brokerage here. Manitoba, we are the number one brokerage in just under 2 years in that province. We're seeing places like Vancouver starting to grow. A market like Toronto, which is 85,000 agents, where we have a smaller agent population there. All it takes and is going to be just a few more people to come, and those people are coming. And as they come, what we're going to see is once again a shift of confidence behind this brokerage. And I think we're just going to continue to see growth. There's demand from markets that we're not even considering going into yet, where people are just waiting for months, if not years, for us to open in. So it's exciting.
One thing that people do not realize is that agents are the largest shareholder group in the company. We're publicly traded, and agents own well over 20% of the company.
Wow.
Which we're very proud of. This is why we went public in the first place. We want agents to actually be partners in this company that we're building together. And obviously that also demonstrates the fact that owning equity in a company is important to agents. But this conversation doesn't come up on a daily basis. I know that it's in the back of agents' minds, but I wanted to ask you how meaningful you think it is for agents that are either considering real or are already at real to know that they own shares in the company they help build, and also the fact that I know that we're not talking about it enough, but the fact that agents own the majority stake of this company.
Well, first, I think that's really cool to learn, and I think the reality is there's so many agents that own stock beyond just what they hold with the company. Like I know so many agents, and I know so many agents' friends that own stock in the company because they're such big believers of it. I think it shows a huge vote of confidence in where the company is going. I think it's incredibly meaningful to them, and I'll tell you one. I'll try to keep it to 30 seconds. I had a property for rent about 3 years ago. We posted it. And an agent that I've seen his name around Calgary for 25 years, early 80s, applied to rent this property. I was like, okay, why is he renting this property? Like, I mean, this guy's been a successful agent for 2 decades, 25 years. Turns out he's been a licensed agent for over 35 years. I called him up, asked him, I was like, hey, so you're looking to rent? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, like, are you just downsizing? You're selling a place? Like, I was just kind of shocked, right? Because hey, we're real estate agents. We sell real estate. Why are you renting a property from me in your early 80s? And he was like, you know what? I sold a lot of real estate in the 90s. I had a couple years where I made like $250,000, which was a lot of money in the early 90s. And I just always expected the next year there was going to be another great year. But Alberta is a cyclical economy, oil and gas based. We have up years, we have down years. And those good years never seem to last quite as long. And those down years could always sort of take what you'd saved up in those good years. So I was looking at this, and I'm like, this is the perfect avatar of an agent. 35 years in this industry and still dependent on that very next commission. And meanwhile, I knew his name. I knew his name well. Many agents know his name. This is a man who probably brought dozens of agents for his great reputation for those strong years. Had he been at a brokerage that gave them ownership, that gave him stock, gave him shares in the brokerage that he was building, gave him a share in the revenue that the agents that he helped influence to come to that brokerage, how much more meaningful it would have been, especially over time and over decades, what he would have built up. And agents they do build equity in their marketplaces with the other agents, with those brokerages, but yet there's never been a way for them to actually tap into that, to actually make it something meaningful for themselves. And we had been open for about 6 months when I got his application. And I just remember thinking at that time, like, I'm incredibly proud to be at a brokerage that values agents this highly.
We have to wrap up. So just wanted to thank you again for being the reason why we opened up in Canada and for being persistent and for everything that you've done since then and everything that you're doing on a daily basis for the agent community here.
Thank you guys for coming.
What a ride. From a rooftop kickoff in Canada to becoming one of the top brokerages in Alberta, Brett and Tamir showed us how real isn't just growing. It's evolving real estate from the inside out. If you're an agent wondering what the future looks like, well, chances are it sounds a lot like this episode. Connected, collaborative, and agent first. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next on Perspectives Unlocked, where the future of real estate is being built in real time. Until next time, I'm Leo. Stay curious.